All right, we're live, and I'd like to take this opportunity just to welcome you guys to the very first podcast of Over a Couple of Beers. I'm Jason Cercone, joined by my partner in crime, Jason Collins.
Howdy.
Mouthful of chorizo, still able to say hi to you guys, but this is a pretty big deal for us. How long have we been talking about putting this podcast together?
3-4 years.
3 or 4 years, so that's a lot of prep work, so hopefully we can live up to expectations, not yours, but just ours, because that's just what tends to happen. So before we get rolling, we're going to go into a lot of different topics tonight. What I wanted to do to set the table is basically just let you guys know that, you know what to expect from this podcast. It's a little bit different. I know there's a lot of guys out there doing great beer podcasts. I know I listen to them. I get a lot of great knowledge from them. Honestly, to sit and talk about beer for an extended period of time, I don't think we'd be doing our drinks justice. So what we decided to do is, just like good buddies do, we get together over a couple of beers and not only talk about the beer that we're drinking, but talk about a lot of other fun things that are going on in the world. So that's what you're going to get from this podcast, not just tonight with our launching episode, but going forward, that's pretty much what we're going to get into. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you've been following Breaking Brews, Pittsburgh Craft Beer Network, all the things I've been doing over the past year, it's all about entertainment. And we can have fun with the beers that we're drinking, and that's our goal. That's what we're going to do. So glad you guys are here. Strap in. We're going to have a lot of fun, and I'm going to let Jason add whatever he'd like to add.
Yeah, first I'd like to thank Hough's for allowing us to come live from their facility tonight. It's a great bar up in Greenfield. I'm going to say my biggest concern right now is how good my voice sounds on the podcast/radio. Lord knows I have the face for radio and podcast, but I don't know if I have the voice. So.
A mouthful of chorizo is not helping.
Well, I can't help that. It's a delicious sandwich.
All right, so basically just getting things going here. We've got a lot happening this past week. Obviously, the Super Bowl went down. I know personally.
There was football on Sunday?
There was football on Sunday. In between the beers that were drank, there was some football. I know that Jason and I were sitting together watching the game. It's one of the best Super Bowls I've seen in a long time, I will say that.
Yeah.
I know I was pulling for Seattle, but that's okay. At the end of the day, we can see a great football game on top of everything else that's going on. They say it's becoming the greatest social holiday of the year, the fact that everybody gets together. And I know we had some great friends together watching all the fun stuff. Not just the football, but the fun commercials. And damn well we're going to be getting into some talk about the AB-InBev commercial, but we'll save that for later.
Let me say that
talk about there.
Mondays after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday. If any day should be, it should be that day, because half the population is probably calling off hungover. So I'm putting this out there now that we need to make this happen. Monday after Super Bowl is a national holiday.
And the other half of the population is going in hungover, so how productive is that? So I think it's a great idea. I'm all on board. So really to kick things off here, obviously since we are first and foremost a beer podcast, since I got the Hough's, I've had a couple new beers that I'd like to talk about. Had a chance to try the Oscar Blues Pinner. And before I go further, if you guys haven't been down to this bar, you're missing out. Outside of the 73 taps, 200 bottles of beer in the cooler, it's just one of the most nicely laid out pubs here in town. And the 32-ounce growler cans to go might be one of the coolest features that I've ever seen. Most growlers, if you open them, you got to drink that beer quick. These cans, they're going to keep that beer fresh for a couple of weeks. Come down and check that out, guys, for sure.
Check out the tap wall, too.
Yeah.
And brew kettles attached right to it. You can make your own beer if you want.
Yep.
Hough's really supports the craft beer movement. Tons and tons of beers on tap, and they've been doing it for a few years now, which is kind of new for Pittsburgh because they always seem to be kind of behind the curve when it comes to new great things. We got to even follow cities like Cleveland, which nobody wants to hear, but they really do it right here.
Oh, indeed. But overall, you can see the progression that Pittsburgh has made over the past, even the past 5 years of all these great breweries open up, a lot of bars getting on board with, following the lead that Hough has put out there and offering tremendous craft options. Gives us a lot of great things to do when we go out. So tonight I had a chance to try the Oscar Blues Pinner IPA. I will say it was a solid IPA that I had never actually had before, but that's one of the great things about coming here and You get to try beers you've never had, and right now I'm all over the Sly Fox Niles Russian Imperial Stout, and
Sounds exhausting.
it's a lot to say. It's a mouthful, but this is a damn good beer that I would definitely come back to again and again.
It's definitely the beer that Uli would drink by the pool.
I mean, yeah, when you care about nothing, this is the beer that you're going to drink. So throwing a little Lebowski in there. So, guys, if you're tipping one back, cheers to you. And let's get rolling on some other stuff here. So, basically, like I said, this past Sunday, we were talking about it briefly. The Super Bowl went down. Great game. I don't know. I mean, what do you think about the commercials this year? I was a little
They're par for the course. There wasn't anything overly special that I saw. I personally thought that the Esurance commercials were pretty funny.
Yeah.
But you have to be. First of all, you had to know that was Lindsay Lohan driving the van, and you had to be a Breaking Bad fan to like the one with Walt as the pharmacist. So there was a lot of people out there that probably flew right over their head, but to me, I thought they were really funny.
Do you think Lindsay Lohan's had some work done?
On what part?
That's good. I don't know.
Just rejuvenation. and stuff like that.
Very plastic. Very plastic. So yeah, I mean, I was on board with that as well, or in agreement with that too. The commercials, I mean, that used to be the big thing that everybody looked forward to. The game was kind of just, a lot of people, if their team wasn't in it, they treated the game as the added feature to the great commercials. But
A lot of downers.
yeah,
A lot of depressing stuff. Nissan included, also the nationwide one, which is getting all the talk about the kid who wasn't able to do any of his life adventures because he died.
Yeah, that seems like, what ended up being the most watched show in the history of television. It's kind of a sad note. Honestly, I don't even remember that commercial, and I don't think I've seen it since. I haven't watched a lot of TV.
Well, I think part of that is because a buddy of ours was in the bag enough by every time there was a commercial on. By the point that came on, he was talking very loudly while the game wasn't playing. So that could have been part of it. I did see the commercial. It is depressing, but if you're a company who sells life insurance, what better forum than the Super Bowl to get the point across, and they did it in pretty epic fashion, actually.
All right, so I'm going to add that to my to-do list to look that up on YouTube. But, of course, let's take a couple minutes or longer to talk about what Anheuser-Busch InBev threw at us. Things started out to, hit you in the feels, warm your heart a little bit with the puppy, the adorable puppy, getting lost and separated from his owner, rescued by the Clydesdales from the wolf. I think that's a parallel to the beer that they produce. Those horses were locked up, just like their beer tasting good. That never happens. That's just. But anyway, nevertheless, the story was. It was a nice, feel-good moment. Remember your buds or hashtag best for bud, whatever. I don't know. Nevertheless, that's where they started. So, they tug at your heartstrings, and we're all better people for having enjoyed it.
Yeah, fair enough. And then
the third quarter hit.
Right.
And we're in the midst of, I don't know, I think I was into the nugget nectar part of my six-pack, which I was
Speaking of that, that is the beer that I chose, an Old Faithful.
Yes. Yeah.
If you don't know Nugget Nectar, it is the premium selection from Trogs. If you've never had any Trogs beers, that's the first one to try. You'll be in love instantly.
No question about that. So, I know I was about 3 sips into that when the AB-InBev commercial rolled in with the. I don't know.
They're macro.
Yeah, I mean, they're proud to be macro. They brew their beer the hard way. They want us to sniff pumpkin peach ale. We dissect it. You take it from every snippet of that commercial you want. It was a mess. And
oddly enough, to be macro and proud was a funny line. And anybody that was at the Super Bowl party with me can attest to the fact that I flipped out immediately.
Well, I will say, yeah, if there was any line that was an attention grabber from the first 3 seconds of the commercial, that was the one. Because, again, listen, we've never sat and considered ourselves beer experts. I know there's a lot of people out there that are obviously know a ton more than us, and I appreciate them for it, but I know good beer when I taste it. that's kind of been my claim since Jason and I we ventured into craft beer. I mean, we'll be the first ones to say that when we first moved to Pittsburgh back in 2003, our Sundays spent watching football were killing cases of
beer,
Corona, and killing cases of just beer that was just unacceptable to even talk about in a craft beer podcast. But nevertheless, as we've evolved and gotten into better beers, we understand good taste, and we can sit and we can pick apart a beer if we wanted to, and quote unquote dissect it like the great people.
But they want you to know that their stuff is beechwood aged. Don't dissect it, but we want you to know that it's beechwood aged.
I made that point. I put a post on Breaking Brews today. It was a new defining the craft, and honestly, the reason I did it in an educational, a loosely used term there, educational format, was because this whole week since the Super Bowl has been nothing more than anybody and everybody weighing in on what they thought of that ad. So I wanted to do something a little bit different, but that was one point that I made.
Anheuser-Busch fired shots.
They did.
They fired shots.
And that's the reaction that they got, I think, was exactly what they were looking for. I think, in a way, this whole thing is good because it's putting more focus on beer. It's letting more people speak their minds, whether it's via their Twitter accounts, via their blog, via Facebook, whatever. They're getting their voices heard. But the point that I made was, and I even did the math, they said it's been since 1876 that they've been beechwood aging beer. They're the only company to do that. And I basically said that in 139 years of brewing beer, they're the only ones that do it. Perhaps the process sucks.
What the hell's beechwood?
I mean, it's a tree, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's other beers that are oak aged,
and they're good.
But you've heard of an oak tree, right?
Yeah.
I mean, where are you finding beechwood?
It's a town in California.
Probably, but it's probably with an EA, not an EE.
All right, so nevertheless, beechwood aging, they're proud of this. I mean, that if that's how you produce what they produce, then more power to them. I thought the thing was great. I can't remember the name. I think it was hopstories.com. I posted the video in the post I did today. Had a great rebuttal that pretty much mimicked the commercial and followed it line for line, but fired back in regards to how these craft brewers, what they've done to get their beer over, what they've had to do to fight to get their beer on the shelves. It really speaks to what that segment of the beer industry is doing. And yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. I don't think any craft brewery or any bar that is specializing in promoting and selling craft beer would ever argue differently, but I think Jason said it perfectly. Yeah, you said it dead on, dude. These guys were firing shots.
Oh yeah, and they made the commercial seem like that they weren't worried about craft beer, but you don't acknowledge craft beer if you're not worried about craft beer.
Yeah.
Since I started drinking craft beer, it's gone from being about 5% of the total market in beer to now 17% in a relatively short period of time. So they're worried. Listen, they're never going to lose, mass market share, but they're losing some of it. And what are they doing? They're not brewing their own. They're buying up companies. Elysian being one of them. Which it's funny because that whole pumpkin peach line, Elysian makes a pumpkin peach ale. They just bought this company, so what does that say?
Well, I will say that that it's ill-timed. There's no doubt about that. But I think that commercial was produced and ready to roll probably before that Elysian deal closed at the end of January. So there's, you can't fault them there. However, I will say that when they're producing this commercial, it wasn't like they just woke up one day and then rolled into the office and said, we're going to go buy Elysian today, and then it happened. This had to be in the works. Know your new brewery's portfolio.
Oh, they didn't care. They were just willing. They were willing to listen, and that's all it was. Yeah. How much money can we throw in front of you when you're willing to listen? Yeah. But I can assure you, Stone and Dogfish Head and the other ones that can stand on their own, they're not doing it. And Elysian, to be honest with you, they do 50,000 plus barrels a year. They weren't small. They were a good-sized brewery that has some really good beers, by the way.
The Elysian beers that I've had are great. Now I'm drawn.
And I can't blame the guys for selling out because nobody's ever thrown that much money in front of me either. But for Anheuser-Busch to immediately toss it in like it's a joke that they have pumpkin peach ale is kind of distasteful, I think.
And I think, I know for a fact that Anheuser-Busch tried to create their own pumpkin beer. What was it, Jack Frost? I don't know. It was a weird. Anyway, they tried to do their own pumpkin cask ale that I never had. I mean, I'm not going to.
Did they try to do their own, or they bought somebody else's?
No, they tried to do their own. I mean, it was.
I know they bought out Michigan Brewing Company a few years ago. We had a great pumpkin beer that was really popular called Screaming Pumpkin.
Wasn't that?
And I don't know if they took that and did something with it, but it just seems like they don't want to do it on their own.
Yeah.
They want to do, keep brewing the same crappy beer and doing what they've been doing and buy up companies that are willing to do it for them.
So the big question then, I'll ask you, is do you think that what they did is going to affect a lot of breweries saying, well, you know what, yeah, you're throwing a lot of money at us, probably more money than we'd ever make doing this over here. So you think they're going to say, screw you guys, we're not selling out, we're going to stick to the
Some will, some won't, but to me, it's almost a good thing. Because if you look at the world of craft beer right now, there's a ton of craft breweries. And you want the cream to rise to the top. Elysian surprised me because of how good their beer is across the board, and then how well they're doing, and they sold out. But I can see some of them doing it, and fine. They don't need to be there. Let the ones that really do it right and believe in not just the beer, but believe in the making money off the company, but the ones that believe in craft beer and say that what we've been forced to drink for the past 200 years isn't acceptable, and we're going to change things. Some didn't want to change them. Some wanted to make money, and they made money. Good for them.
Yeah.
But I'm not drinking their beer. I haven't drank Goose Island in 3 years because of it. And it still exists.
Yeah.
It's still, most of the beers are still the way they were. I just know that money that's going in there is going right to AB, and I can't support it. And speaking of, he talked about a video he posted going into what people have to do as craft brewers to get their beer on the shelf. Beer Wars is a documentary that if you're into craft beer and you're passionate about it, have to see it. It gives you an in-depth look into what really goes on in the store shelves and how the craft brewers get on there. Annette Barron is the producer and director of the movie, and she did a great job.
Yeah, I think that came out in 2011. I know I think it was 2011, but I know I talked to a lot of people that have seen that and had. I mean, it's a very, very good documentary, and I know we've got some more stuff coming here very soon that's going to piggyback on that and may even exceed it. And we'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the show here. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of this type of behavior going on. It's almost like, to me, it's that when I watch that documentary and I see all these things and I hear all these things, I think of what these breweries have to go through just to get that small little segment of shelf space to compete with the big deep pockets, and they don't have that type of ability to go out and do. I know Sam Calgione from Dogfish said it best, is that they're winning the battle with what's in the bottle. It's the beer, and that's what really counts, and that's what I look. I know that's what I look for, and that's what's cool. But I mean, I think in a way, Budweiser, what they did, or Anheuser-Busch InBev, whatever you want to say, by throwing it out there the way they did, I think they ignited a war that was right there. That was almost like the Pearl Harbor. It was something that okay, we were talking about it. Well, boom, now you've made some moves.
Well,
now we're going to go.
What this might also spawn is maybe some sort of rebuttal commercial by the Craft Brewing Association.
Yeah.
If they come back with something else, they all unite. They put some money together. And they throw a commercial out there, throwing it back at
and I'll tell you, I know there was I'm drawing a blank, and I wish I could. Way to prepare for your first podcast, right? I saw a rebuttal today by a brewery in Kasi, I think.
Kasi.
Yeah, I think I didn't watch it. I just saw it briefly, but I know that's something we're going to look at. But it's already happening. I mean, you're seeing rebuttals.
I'd like them to get together as an organization and put their differences aside as far as what they're doing. Maybe Lagunitas can put down the gloves with Sierra Nevada for a minute.
Yeah, I think they make peace.
And get together on this. And maybe next Super Bowl we see a craft beer ad that slams InBev and Anheuser-Busch, which would be kind of awesome. And
maybe InBev will be gone by next Super Bowl. That's what you mean. Anyways. All right,
Speaking of behavior, We'll get off the beer thing for a minute because we could go on forever about that commercial.
Yeah.
Warren Sapp. Speaking of behavior.
Yeah. Model citizen. Great. For those that don't know about Warren Sapp, I mean, I'll tell you that I love watching NFL pregame on Sunday, and I'm typically up early enough that I'm going to start watching Game Day Morning on NFL Network. He's one of the ones out there, and for God's sake, he just drives me nuts. Him and Michael Irvin doing the "You Know It" segment is enough to just make me want to just scratch a chalkboard for entertainment versus listening to those two. It's brutal.
Well, let me tell you how much more I like Warren Sapp now that this came out.
Well, he's a man.
A very stupid man. But he could have driven 4 hours north to Vegas.
Right.
Totally legal.
Right.
But I guess it's kind of illegal, or it is legal in Phoenix. I guess the prostitutes have some sort of certification or something.
The biggest thing, in case you guys had missed this, Warren Sapp, former defensive end, played for the
Hall of Famer,
played for the Raiders, played for the Buccaneers, won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, was arrested for soliciting a prostitute and assaulting the same prostitute, right?
Two,
so,
from what I understand.
To kind of bookend the whole Ray Rice fiasco that put the black eye on the NFL this year.
Literally.
When they were trying to get past this whole thing, Warren Sapp comes out of nowhere and just ends the season with it. I mean, it's almost like, we had said this, everybody talking about, well, Ray Rice will never get signed again. Yes, someone will sign him, I guarantee it. Adrian Peterson will never play football again. Yes, he will. We talked about this whole thing 3 years ago with Michael Vick. That was terrible press. They said if anybody brought him back, it would be terrible for them. And once he came back, it blew over in a few weeks. It's really the same thing.
That's what football does.
It was. This was one of those things that, that the whole start of the season was scarred by this. But as it progressed, things seemed to be getting a little bit better. He got past it, and all of a sudden, Warren Sapp comes out of nowhere and proves that it's happening all the time. There's no way to police what these guys are doing.
It's happened prior to this, and they've done a good job of covering a lot of it up. Lord knows, apparently the Steelers have the Wolf from Pulp Fiction on their payroll to cover up incidents like this. So it's nothing new. But all of a sudden, somebody gets caught, and it's a big news story. So now we got stupid commercials with actors and actresses watching puppies get killed on TV, and then you're supposed to believe that they are trying to talk about domestic abuse.
You know it.
It's BS. It's BS, and it's silly. It's just silly. We're supposed to hold these barbarians that are out there killing each other on a weekly basis to the same standards as the general public who go and sit behind a cubicle. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it is relatively stupid for him to get caught doing something like this, especially for the reasons that Jason said. But also, Greg Anthony was caught doing this 2 weeks ago. So the NBA now has this issue. So obviously it happens, and I don't blame the guy. He probably didn't want to go to a bar and deal with all the BS. So he said, I got a few bucks. I'm going to call a couple girls in my room. It's supposed to be quiet. He's got some money. They're probably like, hey, I want an extra $10,000 because I just figured out you're Warren Sapp.
This thing happens every day. Guys are doing this all the time. But the guys in the public light are the ones that end up catching flack. But I guess what we have to do as sports fans, as human beings, whatever you want to call it, we have to figure out a way to separate ourselves from that these guys are human beings outside of the 3 hours that we watch them play a sport on television. That's it. I mean, we should be able to.
And a lot of these guys are.
Let them. Hey, they won. Our team won.
Not good human beings.
No, they're not. I mean,
a lot of these guys were saved by football.
Do you remember the show Playmakers?
Yes.
I mean, that show brought. Before any of this happened, it was almost like perfect foreshadowing. This was years back. If you never saw it, it was a show ESPN did. It only lasted one season because it exposed so much about pro football and the bad things that happened.
Well, it was hosted by Michael Irvin, so it's appropriate.
What?
The show was hosted by Michael Irvin.
Hosted?
Yeah, wasn't it the one where he brings in all the guys?
No, it was the series about.
The series. I thought you meant it was the one where you got your shot at making the
No,
NFL spawn Jesse Hollins for the Cowboys.
No, this is an actual TV show.
I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, the running back hit his wife. Right. The star running back had a crack addiction. I mean, there was so much crap going on, and the NFL, basically ESPN stepped in and said, or the NFL stepped in and said, we're not going to put our product on ESPN anymore. If you air this show, they had to pull it.
Well, that's what happens. They're a mob mentality there. Don't hurt the shield, and if you do, we're going to make you disappear. That's basically what happens.
There you go. So, I mean, listen, we are, you know this, dude. We're NFL fanatics. We're in multiple fantasy football leagues. We plan a whole weekend in the summertime around a big party that gets all our friends back together for 2 football drafts. One league run by me, one league run by you. It's a blast.
Well, but I do have to say I've never been more disgusted with the NFL than I am right now. Not because of what's happened, but how the NFL's handled what's happened.
Right.
It's been a joke. They're dishonest. They're fake. They want to make you think like they care, but they don't.
Yeah.
It's it's just all of them just protecting that incorporation and protecting the money that they make, which was $10 billion last year.
And on top, I gotta just add this stylist is freaking awesome. Just saying.
Let's end the football talk on a better note.
Yeah,
at least not for Pittsburgh people. I know you guys aren't big fans of this guy, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Tom Brady's legacy now that he has his 4th Super Bowl under his belt. I know everybody wants to say that inflated footballs are the reason he's won for the last 15 years, but you're ridiculous and that's wrong. Just going to put that out there. To me, I believe that after the 4th championship, he is the best that's ever walked on the field.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I want a beer.
Well, we missed it. She'll be
Damn it.
All right, so Jason missed it.
Yeah, I now believe that Tom Brady is the most elite quarterback that's ever stepped on the field after his 4th Super Bowl win. Deflate gate or no deflate gate?
No, I mean, that's, you know what, I don't care if those footballs were deflated, inflated, it doesn't matter. The Colts were outmatched. There's no question that, I don't care. The Patriots were the team this year. Now, listen, I don't think there could have been a better Super Bowl matchup than the Seahawks and the Patriots. I really don't. I mean, those were the 2 best teams. Seattle,
well, let's be honest. Seattle really shouldn't have been there either.
No, they really shouldn't have. I mean, but they earned that spot with that comeback against Green Bay. I mean, if any other team should have been there, it should have been Green Bay because they had a great year too. But
nobody would argue about seeing Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady.
Not at all. And you know what?
Or, I'm sorry, Rodgers.
Right. Nevertheless, Brady is. From a Steeler, I know you're not a Steeler fan, but I'm a Steeler fan. From our perspective, yeah, we don't like the guy, but God damn it, do we respect him, to quote West Man Tooth from Anchorman. 4 Super Bowls, he's been in 6, right?
Right.
And
the 2 he lost were by
fractions of a point.
They haven't been in a game where it's been more than 4 points.
Yeah, I mean, the guy can play football. And you look at what he's done in. He had Randy Moss for, was it 1 season?
2
seasons? That 1 year was insane. They still lost the Super Bowl that year. And that was...
About Deion Branch, though.
Yeah. Brandon LaFell this year. That's your guy.
Right.
Brandon Lloyd. But that's the thing. Like, you look at these guys, like, if we're going to, like, let's, we're big wrestling fans. Let's put them on. Those guys in any other team are mid-cards,
baby.
Mid-cards at best. In New England, they're main eventing WrestleMania.
Barry Horowitz.
They're the boogeyman. But anyway, they are. Brady brings everybody up to his level, and I think he's earned everything that he's gotten. I don't think we have seen the last one. And he'll be back. I don't think. I really can't see that legacy just ending now. I think that he's still got a year or 2 left, and it doesn't matter who they plug into that system. They win. I mean, it's the most consistent.
Well, and that comes down to the coach too. I want to give Belichick any credit, but I'm sitting there watching that last series go down, and they're on the 1 yard line, and I'm sitting there, and they're just letting the clock run.
I mean, Tom. I mean, and not to change the subject too much, but how? I mean, and this has been to death too, so I don't want to talk about it for too much.
He completes that pass as a genius.
I know, but Marshawn Lynch is a monster. A monster at the one. Give him the ball at the 1 yard line. I mean, it's just. Listen, we can all be armchair quarterbacks.
With 1 yard, I think they threw the stat out there with 1 yard to go. Marshawn Lynch only gets it 41%.
Yeah,
41%. It wasn't a gimme. It wasn't going to be absolute. And
nothing is. That's the nothing
and
is.
Pete, as Pete Carroll said, listen, everybody on planet Earth knew we were running that football.
Yeah.
So I never thought about running the football. I wanted to pass it. I wanted to come in the back door, and that kid made an amazing defensive play. But if he completes that pass and it's a touchdown, he's a genius. Because everybody thought Marshawn was running it, and they got a touchdown because he did it.
I mean, I know as we were sitting there watching it unfold, I said, how do you not give it to Marshawn? But even more so, how do you not let Russell Wilson
do a
bootleg? It's Russell Wilson. I mean,
yeah, they had a lot in their arsenal, and it probably could have been a better play call, but I don't hate that call. It just, hindsight's always talk.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. But, put a bow on the whole football talk for today. I mean,
not for a while.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, kicking
Until
the
somebody
podcast off.
Until somebody else hits somebody or kills somebody or does some drugs or gets caught doing whatever.
Right. This is, football's big for us. We're putting a bow on the season. It's over. We probably won't be talking about football too much until we get into fantasy season, and we can start maybe have a little
we get the draft
over a couple of beers fantasy special, or get a couple of our friends involved. Well, we got a lot of good things coming up. I mean, as this podcast rolls on, so if we've overwhelmed the airwaves with football for this evening, we apologize. It's something pretty big to us, and despite all the black eyes on the season, like Jason said, literally, it's say that as less of a joke as possible, because that situation was ridiculous too. But it was a good season overall football-wise. I hope they can get a lot of the off-the-field stuff cleaned up. And,
it won't happen.
No.
It won't happen. It's just going to be business as usual, and they'll just
continue
to sweep it under the rug.
Hopefully we can look forward to better things in regards to the NFL. So,
off the football talk.
Real quick, I did want to mention this past Saturday, I know I ran into some folks that are probably listening to this podcast right now. I had the opportunity to check out the new Voodoo Pub down in Homestead, and also Spoonwood Brewing over in Bethel Park. And I got to say, I mean, I talk about it a lot in all the writings that I put out there. And the Pittsburgh craft beer scene is blowing up, and those guys really knocked it out of the park. There were crowds out the door at both places at all times of the day. One of the coolest things I thought I saw about Spoonwood when I was over there, that every time 2 people walked out, 5 more walked in. I mean, there was never a point in time where that place was dead. Those guys were hustling, their beers were solid, and Voodoo, those guys, I mean, what they do speaks for themselves. I mean, their beer, I think this is a great opportunity for them to penetrate the Pittsburgh market even more. And that Brewpub has such a unique feel to it. Really had a lot of fun down there, so dude, get off your ass and go see them.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get there, but I definitely want to check them out. Current events. Let's go over some stuff in the news today, or at least stuff that's interesting to us.
Yeah, it was warm. It's going to snow. Oh, not weather.
Well, it was kind of warm today. The sun felt like it was 90. It was kind of
heat
nice.
Wave. Continue.
Enough.
No weather.
Quickly, I want to touch on Mr. Randy Quaid. You may
dude.
know him from Christmas Vacation and Independence Day. He played a schlub in both of them. This fella did something pretty funny today. My partner here has not seen it, so
yeah, I need
this is going to be news to him. And if you get a chance, please
save the neck for me, Clark.
Yes. If you get a chance, Google this. He made a video and put it online, accusing the media of sabotaging him. And if you remember, a couple years ago, he went on the lam for a little while. There was a warrant out for his arrest, and he went on the run, and blah, blah, blah. Well, turns out he's pretty mad at Rupert Murdoch. He's also the guy who, the head of Fox that produced Independence Day and other huge movies, Warner Brothers Pictures and all that. Well, he decided to make a video from his bedroom or a hotel room, I really couldn't tell, where he decided he was going to put a Rupert Murdoch mask on his wife and plow her from behind in front of the camera. And to keep the language down, because Jason doesn't want this given a lot of hand, his exact words were, his exact words of, Rupert, if you're going to F me, I'm going to F you. And I think his wife smacked her head off the camera a few times during this video. But me telling you about it can't do it justice. You have to see it. He goes on and on about how he was screwed in Hollywood and everybody's out to get him. So he turns around and bangs his wife from behind while the dog's barking at him. It is epic. The Rupert Murdoch mask is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
This is Cousin Eddie.
Cousin Eddie, who looks like Santa Claus in this video. Big white beard, thick glasses. You wouldn't even recognize him if you didn't know it was him.
All right. So homework. There you go.
Yes.
Google Randy Quaid with his Rupert Murdoch mask.
Well, no, his wife's Rupert Murdoch mask.
His wife's,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you could see him playing like
that. So, okay.
His wife's pretty hot, by the way.
Cool. Well, that makes it even more Googleable. So, I did miss that video, but I did do. I mean, I'm not going to talk about this too long because it sucks. I mean, what ended up happening, but the video footage is ridiculous. Did you see that plane in Taiwan?
It freaked me out so bad.
Yeah, I can't even imagine you're driving down the road and you see that. Ugh.
Yeah, that's why I hate prop planes as it is, and to see a big old prop plane.
Yeah, that sucks.
It just freaked me out. Something fierce. I guess it's up to the death toll was 23.
Well, I heard cars like 55.
No, there was 58 on board, I guess.
Oh,
and 23 of them.
I know. I saw a 5 at the end. Either way, it's
it's crazy. Well, and then on top of that, the Jordanian pilot set on fire by ISIS. It's a weird world out there, folks.
Yeah,
I must say.
Yeah, I mean, this is our over a couple of beers launching podcast has just become the 11 o'clock news. Welcome.
Well, it's about the 8 o'clock news this morning. We're just getting to it now.
Well, just leading off, they're talking about all the negative stuff. So,
in related news, Better Call Saul starts on Sunday.
Better Call Saul. Now, I mean, you said this Sunday. I'm hoping to God that this is what happens. There's some Hollywood experts that have seen the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, the first 3 episodes have been made available to the people in the know, and they are loving it.
More than Breaking Bad.
Some are saying, yes.
That may be one of the most bold statements.
Oh, sure.
But hey, you know what?
But it's the guy who made Breaking Bad. Maybe he's got some more good stories in there.
If that's what happens, I'm looking forward to it big time.
And remember, it's a 2-night event. Sunday night and Monday night. They're using the premiere of Walking Dead to usher in Better Call Saul.
Walking Dead.
And then it'll be, from what I understand, on Monday nights will be the regular time slot for it. But they're using...
Wait a minute. For
Better Call Saul.
Monday night at what time?
I'm guessing 10 o'clock.
I've been looking for an excuse to not watch Monday Night Raw. There it is.
Other than the fact that the product sucks?
I've heard this. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of old news to even talk about the Royal Rumble at this point. Huh?
Did you see their shoehorning the whole Roman Reigns?
Oh, yeah, Roman
Daniel
Reigns.
Bryan in there after the
eruption
at...
yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, man. I watched the Royal Rumble. I mean, listen, I know I'm talking about wrestling all day either, but good Lord. They have... They didn't just drop the ball, they punted it 50 yards, like Doug Flutie. It's insane how bad that product has become. I mean, I think about 1998 when we were seniors in high school, through our freshman and sophomore years of college, how good that product was versus what it is now at the age of 35. Maybe it's because we're 35, nevertheless.
Well, it's because we lived through the golden age of it. We're just never going to be able to repeat it.
Yeah, so they're backtracking. It's almost like Budweiser did. They're backtracking a day after their ad, talking, oh, well, we appreciate all beers, yada, yada, yada. It's so hard to take things back. You put something in the public eye, it's hard to take it back. I mean, look at us. We're putting this podcast out in the public eye. Who knows if anybody's ever going to listen to us?
They're not, probably.
No, this is it. Well, it's a fun 40-some minutes.
Right, well, hopefully we'll get like 1 like on Facebook.
Or I was thinking, yeah, 1 seems generous. I'll like it. If you like it, too, it's 2.
If we get 3 out of this, it's a success.
I like it. All right, so
This is really just an excuse to drink.
yeah, so if we get 3, then we'll do this again. How's that sound? So, anyway, this has been, again, we're kicking things off. I know we've got a lot of things lined up with this podcast. Our goal...
They'll be better going forward.
Oh, yeah. Our goal was to get this out. I mean, we've been, again, like we said, we let off, but we've been talking about doing a podcast for 4 years now at least. And, it's funny that, when we finally said we're doing this, it was over beer, and it's something that, I don't want to say we were passionate about it when we were younger kids, but, we were teenagers drinking beer.
We were just passionate about getting drunk.
Yeah, we were just like everyone else. So,
Southern Tier chocolate.
So, we got a Southern Tier chocolate about to hit the table. We know things.
The greatest.
Nothing's going to get better.
The goat.
Than that. So, I mentioned it earlier. We mentioned, or Jason had mentioned the Beer Wars. I think it's pretty exciting, and we're going to be talking a lot more about this in the upcoming months. And I've had the pleasure of getting to know the guys down at Brew Gentlemen here in Pittsburgh, Asa and Matt, and Brandon, who's actually leaving to start his own brewery out in Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I had an opportunity to go to his going away party this past weekend. It was nice to get to talk to him. I wish him the best. I know everybody's...
the brew menches?
What's that?
It's going to be the brew menches.
I don't know what they're coming up name-wise, but I think he's going to do a lot of great things. His beer is about as solid as it gets, and those guys are doing great things. And we're going to see the documentary made by Alexis Irwin and Chip Hyden called Chip. I'm sorry if I said your last name, dude. I'm sorry. It's called Blood, Sweat, and Beer. The official launch is on March 1st down in Washington, D.C. I'm trying to get down there. I'm hoping I can get down there for that weekend so I can be a part of that festival. Talking about Beer Wars, I think this is going to be a nice little continuation for that whole argument, and it tells a great story about how the Brew Gentlemen, those guys, how they started, what they're doing for not just craft beer in Pittsburgh, but reviving a whole community in Braddock and really being the centerpiece for that whole revival. It's really amazing stuff. If you guys have not been down to Braddock to check out the Brew Gentlemen yet, you're missing out. I'm telling you, the beer is some of the best you're going to have. So get down there, and we will be talking more about the Blood, Sweat, and Beer documentary that's going to be coming out March 1st as we go forward with this podcast. But yeah, it's good stuff. A lot of great things happening. And also, real quick, wanted to mention is we're on the subject of the Brew Gentlemen on Friday, this upcoming Friday as of tomorrow. The Brew Gentlemen are featured at Caliente Pizza and Pizza Draft House in Greenfield with their first Firkin Friday. I don't know what they have coming out of that Firkin this Friday, but I know they're featured on the first Friday of every month, so make sure you get down to Caliente and check that out. What do you got, dude? Anything?
Plugs, it looks like we got what? Kelly's on March 7th. Hell with the lid off, and I can't imagine a more appropriate name for a barley wine night.
Hell yeah, that's going to be a good time.
There's going to be a lot of really drunk people coming out of that place.
I've already set up Uber. It's going to be,
there's going to be some bad warnings for these people.
Drink responsibly. It even says it at the end of the AB-InBev ad, drink responsibly.
Yes, which means don't drink their beer.
Just like consume this podcast responsibly. So, one last thing, I'm just going to throw this out there because you're seeing this on Pittsburgh Craft Beer Network, and I am working on getting the PCBN mobile app launched. And I know you guys have heard a lot. I've posted pictures and updates, and I'm just going to say it. I'm working my butt off to get this out there, but it is one of the most complicated processes I've ever been a part of in my life, getting an app onto the Google app, or onto Google Play and onto the App Store for Apple. So bear with me. It's coming. The app will be out hopefully within the next week. I'm hopefully going to be able to set up a support call to get that done, but things are in motion. And basically my goal is to create the most user-friendly experience for everyone that's using this app and using the website in general. And again, the goal is just to keep Pittsburgh informed about what's going on with craft beer and show you guys some great locations to go to enjoy a good beer and spotlight the places that are doing wonderful things. And we're going to keep doing that not only through the network, but with this podcast. And again, this is our kickoff show. Hope you guys enjoyed what you heard. We're going to have plenty more to come. And final thoughts, my friend?
Are we making a Twitter account for this podcast, or how do you want to do this?
We may be doing something separate on that. We'll work on that. And
well, I'm going to plug my own at Jason P. Collins on Twitter.
And if you're not following the Pittsburgh Craft Beer Network, it is at PGHCBN. And Breaking Brews is at Breaking_Brews. And I'll leave it to those two. And again, thanks guys for checking us out. This has been over a couple of beers. And just like good friends always do, we get together over a couple of beers and talk about anything and everything. Glad you could be a part of it. Look forward to having you back for more.
Auf Wiedersehen.